Bowl eligible. While that wasn't necessarily a difficult goal at the beginning of the season, it turned out to be. So 6 wins means something as we head toward the final week of the season against Duke. Talking Miami football as we always do with a wholesome one each and every Tuesday, 1:15 Eastern. Bring yourself, but bring some friends along to join the conversation each week. Wholesome one, how's it going?
What's up? What's up, man? How you doing today, Mark? Things are going well. Things are going well. Unfortunately, it took us this long to make it to 6 wins, but I didn't think it would take 11 weeks to find 6 wins with this team. But the saving grace is that we do have it. There's a chance to make it a seventh win again this upcoming week against a Duke team. And a lot of stuff is going on with this program as far as insider information and clickbait and all kind of crazy stuff going on. So we have to deal with what happens on the football field and all of the talk off the football field. But hey, it makes our job a lot easier when there's a lot to talk about when it comes to football, and more specifically for me, the Miami Hurricanes.
I'd like to hit you up on the Virginia Tech game and, of course, look ahead to Duke, but we will hit those items that people will be talking about first and foremost before we get to the football on the field. So Blake James, of course, has been dismissed. We discussed that at length last week. You've discussed it several times on your platform. So we invite everyone, of course, to head on over to the Wholesome Ones channel right here on YouTube. And there is much speculation over the wish list, which isn't always the same as what the reality is and what the administration is considering. So what are you hearing? What's the latest on an AD search that is ongoing?
Well, the athletic director position, I believe, is so important. And there's been a lot of names that have been attached to it for different, varying reasons. We talked about the financial connection of Gino Torretta, someone who got into real estate in the states of Texas and Florida and Pennsylvania over the last couple of years since he got out of playing ball. So probably like 10, 15 years, he's been a CEO of a big real estate company. So that conversation has been huge as far as him being able to help the University of Miami get things built for honestly a cheaper price. I mean, if you know these people, you know the realtors, you know the builders, there's a chance that you'll be able to negotiate and say, hey, well, I can get a guy come over from Texas to be able to put this building up here for a little cheaper, help save you about 15,000 or whatever, things of that nature. So you have that side of the conversation. You also have former Louisville athletic director Yersich, I think is his last name, Yersich, something like that. So he's been out for about 5 years or so. He's helped build Louisville basketball and football. He helped transition them from the Group of Five over to the ACC. And his name has been huge with the Miami Hurricanes, even though he does not, Tom Yersich, thank you very much. He does not come cheap. And he also would like us to really truly invest in athletics and to be serious about that and to prove that for him, because he asked for all that money at Louisville. He pushed things and helped them jump to a whole different level. And yes, Louisville hasn't had the most success in the ACC, but they're able to bring in that ACC money, and that was what his whole ordeal was, is to help them get their finances up. All right. You also have Alonzo Highsmith, a name that we've been talking about ad nauseum here for almost. I brought this up when I came up with the hashtag Highsmith to the U a couple years ago, like late 2019. Um, that's been the thing. Is this man has helped build teams. He helped build the Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers as player personnel. Like, his gig was to go out, evaluate these young men across the country, attend multiple tens and dozens of pro days and watch how they go through things. And he didn't just do that for 1 year, 2 years. He's been doing it for a decade and a half. Okay. So he's been all over the country. He knows what certain weight rooms look like and how the certain programs have been operating to help these players transition to the higher level of the National Football League. He's seen those who come from the big, well-named programs that worked out and didn't work out. He's seen some who's come from the Group of Five, who's come from the FCS, who's come from D2, D3, who have worked out. So he has an eye for personnel. and being able to identify the people that you can help plug together to make a championship program. So we are not looking at Alonzo Highsmith for head athletic director over everything. We're looking at him as head of football operations, which will basically just be athletic director for football. It'll be something new, similar to chief of staff, which is cool. I mean, we are innovative at the University of Miami, so one of the biggest things we would have to do is make sure this is going to work out well. And you know, the AD position, Mark, is something that a lot of us can't name. Like you said before, we can't name 50 ADs. I couldn't even name you five, to be honest with you. I know my personal AD. I know the AD at the University of Miami, but the former AD at the University of Miami, but that's about it. So in this position, you have to be very diligent, Mark. You can't just go, well, he knows football, so give him a job. Oh, he knows finances, so give him a job. You have to really know what you want to be, because athletic director is not just a 1 or 2 year thing. You're talking about a half a decade to a decade investment as to where can you project your program into, based on what you can surround this person with, what financially you can have, geographical location, recruiting, head coach, all that stuff has to work together. And there's a lot of talk about that for the University of Miami being successful, Mark, but it's one of those things where you have to make sure you get it right, the hire, but we have to truly wait and see what's going to happen. And are you going to make moves? Are you going to be, are we going to see nothing but construction over the next couple of years because you are just building? And that's what happened with Mark Richt. I mean, the minute he walked in, he said, this doesn't look right. That doesn't look right. This doesn't look right. What is this? Where's the big guys on the offensive defensive line? Where's the speed at wide receiver? And somebody find me a quarterback. There were multiple things he walked in and saw that it just wasn't up to par if you want to claim to be a championship program. And he was still behind the bar at Georgia to the point where Kirby Smart walked in from Alabama. He said the same thing about Georgia. So think about what that meant about how far back we were. If Georgia is a perennial 10, 11 win program, it was always in conversation. Miami was a decade behind them. Kirby comes from the premier measuring stick and walks into UGA, and they are 10 years behind Alabama. So, I think that's a little wishful thinking as far as comparing ourselves to Alabama and LSU and Oregon as far as with facilities and things of that nature. But those are some of the things you have to go ahead and get implemented, and hope that we can surround this new athletic director with all that they need to get better, and to take the University of Miami's athletics, specifically for us football, but athletics period, to multiple different levels.
Yeah, just to put into a framework what the athletic director has to deal with versus what a particular, you mentioned the director of football operations, if that becomes a position, what they would deal with is obviously the further you go up the chain, the more responsibility you have and the more you have to oversee and take multiple departments, groups, organizations into consideration. Because let's say just in finances, if you're in charge of football operations and we have $15 million to work with, well, you've got a lot of major decisions to make about where is that going to be invested in, and what's your return on investment, and what is most in need, what are the priorities. You have to figure all that out. And what makes sense. And you may come up with a laundry list that's going to cost you $60 million, but you only have 15. So you got to figure that out. Well, if you're the athletic director, you take that up to a whole higher scale, because even though football is most important in regards to revenue, how many sports are at a university like Miami? 20, 30?
Yeah, 15 to 20, yeah.
Yeah, something like that, 15 or 20. Then you have to decide, okay, I've got $50 million and women's tennis may be in need of X, Y, and Z, but what is the return on that going to be? How strong do we want to be in that area? Can we figure out other ways to fund it? You got to figure out, and that's just one little drop in the bucket. And you have to figure that out for every program, then put it all together and figure out what needs priority first and foremost, and where that falls down the list.
And that's why this is so important, Mark. I mean, you talk about somebody in my perspective, 25-year-old, right? Born in 96. So Miami from 96 to now still has had so much of this up and down. But you start to open it up to as far as somebody like you or even older than you who's watched this program since it started, it's never been fully just in order, under direction, the president, the athletic director, the head coach, the coordinators, the players, the trainers, the water goers, the fans. It's never all been on the same level as far as what are we, where can we be, and who the hell do we want to be? You've had a president who's like, I don't know, I'll take the money, but I can't stand the fact that you all go into the inner city and grab these young men with goals and dreadlocks and have them on the football field and wear our logo. I don't like it. But I'll take the money and it's, hey, I'll be at the game and root you on, but I'm not a fan of that. You have a head coach who's like, I'll deal with the administration, just go win football games for me. That's all that matters. Go out there and win games. And then it got to a point where, all right, the head coach is now like, no, I can't go recruit those kind of guys. I don't want that kind of perception on national TV. We don't want to be doing the hip thrusting and the dancing and all that stuff on TV. Let's just line up, play football, shake our opponent's hand, get on a plane, go home, do it again next Saturday. Okay, it's never been all intertwined. It's never been all on the same alignment, and we've been continuously lied to for the longest as far as we want to be a championship program. This is a championship program. We have 5, but we could have had this. We want to go to a different level. Well, investing 20 to 30 million dollars from your school into your football program specifically, that's a nice step. I'm very happy we took that step. Kentucky invests more. Ole Miss invests more. Kansas and Kansas State invest more. That kind of stuff, we're in the infancy stage of truly trying to build a football program. And what I say by program is every little aspect of it coming together. So we have to be very careful as to who we put in the forefront of that, because in the infancy stage and in the blueprint stage, if you build on something that's finicky or not put together well, the whole thing could come towering down. 3-4 years later on from now, we don't look right and it doesn't come together well. So we're just trying to work on, for us in the media, doing as much research as we can, being able to get on platforms like this, and it's an amazing platform, and speak about it, because people in that area are listening. People at the University of Miami, they listen. I don't know if they tune in specifically to just my channel. They may be in a Twitter space on Twitter. They may be in Kane's Insight. We just want to be a Facebook group, because these are people too, and they hear it from all different angles. So we're trying to be very careful as to the information we're putting out there, and to try to make sure that we're trying to educate folks and give them different viewpoints. And yeah, we can go this way, but what about this? Or bring this name up, or this person, and how much it costs to bring this staff in. We're just trying to help the process as best as we can in the media.
Folks, if you enjoy the conversation we have with Wholesome One each and every week, and in total, all the content we provide on our Miami channel, we love that. We appreciate that. We're glad that you enjoy the content, but you have certain outlets and certain contacts out there, meaning what the Wholesome One just mentioned, Facebook groups in particular. I did a search on Miami football Facebook groups, and I found 8 or 10 pretty major ones to start out with. And there are probably other ones that I could have found. So if you people belong to those, and let people know in those groups that we're here talking Miami football several times a week, and specifically Tuesday, and that the Wholesome One has a channel with excellent analysis of the nuts and bolts on the field, and let people out there know. So we need your help to grow our platforms, because there are people that you come in contact with that don't know that we exist. So please help us in that regard. We've seen a couple examples here this season where, in particular, Nebraska, they have decided apparently, unless maybe they lose their final game and Scott Frost does get shown the door, but I think it's pretty safe to say at this point that they've decided to retain him, but they let go of 4 offensive assistants because that
Mhm,
side of the ball has not been up to standard.
mhm.
At Florida, before Dan Mullen was fired, and I speculated that he was playing for his job the last couple of games of the season, and we see how that turned out. But prior to that, he was led to fire the offensive line coach and the defensive coordinator. So the question asked here is by Dirtfish, Wholesome One, do you think that the new AD forces Manny to hire a new DC, defensive coordinator?
I believe that the new athletic director is going to want to part ways with Coach Manny Diaz. Um, there's just been too much. It's just been too much as far as everything that goes into what he has brought to the table, the shortcomings, the losses, the unpreparedness, the undisciplinedness, you know, the lack of development, the lack of player buy-in, the continual turnover of coaches, and then yet give the same exact result, the continuous overemphasizing of the little minuscule things, but ignoring the big problem. There's just been so much under the tutelage of Manny Diaz that I think it's time for the University of Miami to take a step elsewhere. But to answer that question, if yes, simple. They would have to bring in a new defensive coordinator. I think the gig of being a coordinator slash head coach is a bit one of the harder things to do, man. You basically are the head coach of your 33 or 35 scholarship guys when you're a coordinator at some of those elite programs, which is what Miami would like to be. And you got to a point where we have a head coach who's also calling the defense, who's also has his hand in the offense as far as situational ball. I need you to just milk some clock here, stop being aggressive, all that kind of stuff. And it's been bad. It's just been bad. And I think we're going to go in a different direction. I'm hoping we go in a different direction because I believe that these young men who are currently on our roster right now deserve better. They deserve a coach that can tap into what they should and can be, and they need someone who knows how to get that done and knows how to build something. Um, Coach Diaz, I continue to say this, can go on to do something else as far as coach somewhere else and maybe even go on and maybe even beat Miami at a different school. It is what it is. But he has to go. He has to just go.
Miami coming off a win against Virginia Tech 38-26. The Canes took a pretty sizable lead early, gave up some scores that made it a bit uncomfortable at 31-26, and then closed it out. From there, there were periods of the game where it was just a downpour. So that affected the game. You could see that play after play after play after play, but that's part of the deal. That's part of football. So what first and foremost stands out to you about what worked and what didn't on Saturday?
Man, one of the biggest things that makes you excited is Miami has a quarterback. And Miami has a quarterback that is mixed well with Coach Rhett Lashley. And this system and this scheme, they just work well together. And it's nice to see a young man go out there and hit on some of those throws because there's been times where TBD has been just as aggressive. You look at the first half of Tallahassee, and it's resulted in interceptions or a little bit underthrown, a little bit overthrown, and things weren't connecting. But when TBD connects with these wide receivers deep early, he gets hot. He just knows where to go. And you have to start where the ball is snapped and sent to the QB, with my opinion, the MVP of the latter half of this season in Ja'Kai Clark. I mean, that young man stepping in to be our starting center after Corey Gaynor was injured and now is out for the rest of the season and is probably going to transfer. Um, Things have taken a big step in the right direction for the University of Miami offensively. And the main thing is being able to get at center identify what's about to happen in front of you, and even an odd front, who's blitzing, where they're coming from, and being on the same page with your quarterback as opposed where he makes sure that he's not snapping or calling for the ball with his foot up until Jakai is absolutely done giving all of his calls. I mean, there's plenty of times you'll see he'll go back down to a knee, hey, and TVD let him do his thing. Hey, cut up, you got it. All right, give me the ball. Because that connection is very important to a regular fan. They're like, man, just block. You fat, I'm fat, just block. That's no. When you think about this, you talk about the best programs. Okay, the offensive line is very, very communicative. They make sure that we communicate so that you can't just destroy our, offensive line because or our running back or get to our QB because we know where you're blitzing from. We know where to step. We know Louis or Ringo. We know if we're going to do a pull, that we're going to half slide this thing and pull Navon around, but it's still play action. You have to be able to have that communication, not just the guy that goes out there and says, I'm going to do my job. Coach said, just snap the ball and step right and put my hand up, make sure nobody gets here, and I'm just going to do my job. Okay. Rambo, he is doing well. Charleston Rambo is his full name, number 11 for Miami at wide receiver, just cutting up. Early in the season, we didn't expect him. From what we were seeing, I can say I didn't expect him to blossom like this, but the deep passes, the now routes, the curls, slants, he's been able to unlock all of that. And we're able to mix it up to where we can go deep with him. He can also be our possession guy. He can also be our tunnel screen guy. He's just given us really good play at the wide receiver position consistently. He's also on a historical run. If he gets 92 yards this upcoming season, he will break um, the single season yardage record for the University of Miami. Now, think about some of the guys who played wide receiver here at the University of Miami, and he's already in conversation because he's one of only 5 Miami Hurricane wide receivers to have 1,000 yards in a single season. So, I mean, is he Reggie Wayne? Is he Andre Johnson? I don't know. But as far as what he's doing on Saturdays for Miami right now, he's playing big time ball. And we love to see it. Jalen Knighton is continuing his big playability. There are some things that we want to see a little different as far as not ramming him up the gut on 3rd and 1 at 182 pounds. So we saw that to close out the game. Miami got the ball back with about 3 minutes left, and they tried to run a very tired Jalen Knighton up the gut, and it wasn't working. They finally sub in the 6', 240-pound Thad Franklin Jr. He gets in the game. He starts running people over, and you're able to milk the clock. Virginia Tech kept calling timeout, but we kept handing the ball to Thad Franklin, and he's making people miss and running people over and getting you tough yardage to get you a first down, a couple first downs to milk the clock and end the game with possession of the ball. You do that 2 weeks ago, we beat Tallahassee. But I'm not gonna go there. I'm hoping that and what he showed us, now he's gonna get more snaps because it hasn't made much sense that he doesn't get a chance to get the ball. But it's a win. There was some times in that game where I was very, very angry watching it. The latter half of quarter 2 and all of the third quarter was abysmal. We gave up 227 yards rushing, 137 of that to a second string quarterback. Beggars can't be choosers when you have that kind of coach. But yeah, this dude, man. Mark, 227 yards on the ground to Vitek, 137 yards on a triple option. Anyway, they started to come storming in there. They did some fake punts, onside kick. I mean, you're playing a program built by Frank Beamer. Beamer ball and special teams is their thing. So they're going to do some of those things. We didn't look focused. We didn't look like we knew what was going on. So, some of those things are going to no longer be around the program. So we'll get a different one. But for some of those people who like this, a win's a win. I'm not one of those guys, but we got it.
Yeah, we've talked about that in the past. And if you're a championship caliber program or aspire to be, then you set a standard. And regardless of who the opponent is, you rate and evaluate your play against yourself. And sure, you'll take the win, goes in the standings. But you understand, okay, if we continue to play like this and continue to make these mistakes, continue to give this type of effort, well, it's not good enough. And when we run into the right opponent, then they're going to show us that it's not good enough. So, yeah, the win is good. They did what they needed to do. They were challenged after they had a pretty big lead, got sized down to 31-26, that they did make the stops at the end and tack on a touchdown to give them some breathing room. Did have 4 sacks and 10 tackles for loss on defense, so they did get into the backfield.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just I'm in the middle of a film session, and there's plenty of stuff I still saw wrong. But I mean, at this point in the season, you well, I can't say just this point. This point in the season for the Miami Hurricanes and the kind of season we've had, I understand why people are so focused on results. Um, yeah, I remember, before the Tallahassee game, plenty of people were like, "Man, just win, just find a way to get the W," because we know that this staff won't be here next year. Um, and we'll get into that in the next segment with what's happening with our staff and people being up for jobs and people more than likely stepping away from the University of Miami's football program for the foreseeable future. So we'll see.
Yeah, we've got a comment here by Chris Bradford that's echoed by many people. And this is a topic that you've already taken on. You know what? That's not the comment I was alluding to.
Oh,
There was
okay.
another comment made just in regards to this Gary Furman, Kane's Sport article that's out concerning Manny Diaz and his contract being extended and staying at Miami.
Yeah, I truly believe that to be wrong. From the people that I know, the people that I've spoken to, it's there are going to be supporters. I mean, there's over 13 board of trustees members, so maybe the person that Gary Furman in particular spoke with is one of those Manny Diaz supporters who wants to have Manny Diaz here and thinks that he deserves more time. There's gonna be people like that in these groups. But we're trying to do is make sure that those people's voice is a little lower than the other people, and not necessarily just because we want Manny Diaz to be fired and to be embarrassed and to be disrespected. No, we just want better for the logo. We want better for the logo. And at the end of the day, once you start to put yourself in front of that logo and you're more important than you, we have problems with that. It's just that simple. I believe Miami's going to go in a different direction. I believe Miami is going to hire, um, Mario Cristobal. I've said that multiple times. I think that's where he is number one on their list. Are there a lot of things Miami would have to prove to him that they are serious about and can do to pull him away from him running the West Coast right now? Absolutely. Uh, and I get why people are a little jaded and feel like, I don't know, a little iffy about it. That's okay. Only time will tell, and results will tell when it comes to the new head coach. But that's where I think Miami is going to go.
Have they given any indication on a timetable to get an AD?
No, no, and to me, that's a good thing. To me, that is a good thing because that means they're not just jumping at because I mean the fans got behind this Highsmith and Toretta thing like that. I mean they were, oh yeah, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. Let's not be reactionary like that. Let's take the hey, oh, are you interested in the job? Okay. What are your qualifications? What are some of the things you would like to do? Do you know this? Do you know that? Like, let's go with that. And is oh my goodness. I just saw a comment. I'm gonna address this. Mario and Manny can't win big games. Sir, listen, Kansas City Kane 305. Listen, man, I understand he did lose this past Saturday to Utah. I understand it looked really bad. But to have that kind of viewpoint and to not look at his whole body of work and the substance, I don't think that that is fair, nor is it an educated viewpoint. Against ranked opponents, he's 9-1 in his time at Oregon. So, what would you have a viewpoint of a big game? He also has one of the best wins this current season at the Horseshoe. Okay, let's keep that in. And last year, he had a down year at 4-3 in a 7-game season and beat an undefeated Southern California team for the Pac-12 championship. I don't. He has Rose Bowl wins. He has 2 Pac-12 championships in 3 years. I don't get that viewpoint. I'm only very fired up about that because I don't like how people tend to take what just happened and overblow that when that is not fair to the person we're speaking on. Okay. And I would say the same thing in defense of any coach if they had.
Yep.
If you were to argue, Lane Kiffin, what's Lane Kiffin's biggest win? Did you watch him not beat Texas A&M this year? Did you not see him at Southern Cal and what he's done as a recruiter? So I'm not just a Mario Cristobal apologist. I just believe that you have to come with a little bit more validity than a statement like that. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I've learned it when people make the comment, big games. First of all, if you're going to have a conversation with me, I'm going to ask you, what is a big game to you? Because I'll define what a big game is to me, but I want to know in the context of the conversation. And in this day and age of the playoff, most people will say, win a national championship. Well, do you realize how many guys out there have done that are still coaching? So I can think, okay, 3. There's 3 guys, Saban, Dabo, Jimbo Fisher. Those are the only 3 guys that have won a national championship who are currently coaching in college football. So Ed Ogeron obviously is being shown the door here with one more game. So to me, big games are everything that the Wholesome One just cited there. When you can look at a coach like Mario Cristobal, and he's won 2 Pac-12 championships in 3 years, as you just cited, won a Rose Bowl, won a Fiesta Bowl, won all the games leading up to those games that had to get them to that place. As you mentioned, 9-1. There's not anyone around right now that doesn't think Ohio State is arguably the second or third best team in the country. And Oregon won there, and that was the game that they had to win to propel them into the conversation for the rest of the season. As somebody that was a bit, I won't use the word ignorant, but just a bit
naive
to the topic. Blasted Mel Tucker the other day, the Michigan State coach that lost to Ohio State, and suddenly, he doesn't know what he's doing. Michigan State, why did they hire him? Well, you give me the coach, and I will fill in the blanks of the embarrassing losses. You cannot coach for any length of time in competitive athletics at this level and not have losses on your record that weren't necessarily the best.
It happens.
So, yeah. Nick Saban lost the national championship game a couple of years ago by 4 touchdowns. He lost his first year at Alabama to Louisiana Tech. We can go on and on.
Monroe, yeah.
Louisiana Monroe, yes.
Yeah. He's
So
lost to multiple.
I can go on and on all day.
He's lost to multiple, like 8-3, or not multiple, but a couple 8-3 Auburn teams. Like unfortunately, these things do happen. Continue.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Mark, I would like to go into this unless you had something lined up for me.
I don't.
Okay, I want to go into this because yes, I want to attach a name to it, but I think this approach is what I would love people to think about. All right. Flash in the pan, oven cooking. I want you to think about this. Let's just take LSU, for example, under Ed Ogeron. LSU under Ed Ogeron was a very talented team, highly recruiting kind of team, won some games, had some nice bowl wins attached to them, and a national championship, right? But once that happened, there tended to be this kind of derailing to the point where 2 years after winning a national championship, he's not even employed anymore after next week, right? Let's look at the Georgia approach under Kirby Smart. The first year was a little. The second
8-5.
year,
Yep.
8-5. Second year, Mark, what was he doing in his second season at Georgia?
What was he doing?
Yeah, do you remember by any chance? What would you say that year was? 2017. Do you know
Yes.
what happened year two at Georgia?
They came within an eyelash of winning the national championship.
Okay. Year three. You remember what Kirby was doing at Georgia?
I know they had a 2-score lead in the SEC championship game against Alabama. They won the East, won their division, still finished in the top 5 or 6 in the country.
Year four. What happened at Georgia?
It was that 2019. They won the Sugar Bowl. They finished in the top 5 or 6 in the country.
Well, 2019 they lost it to Texas, but they were a 10 or 11 win program that lost to Texas, and because Herman beat them.
2018 they lost to Texas in the Sugar
Oh,
Bowl.
okay, my bad.
2019 they beat Baylor in the Sugar Bowl.
Okay, you got it right. There you go. You got me. 2020. What they had a somewhat of an iffy season, up and down, COVID-19, injuries, yada yada. Did he or did he not still win a New Year's Six Bowl?
Absolutely. Finished 6th or 7th.
So that's 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21, he has the best team in college football. See what I'm saying? That's the approach that I want us to think about. I'll put names to it just so people can remember this. There is this notion about Lane Kiffin, right? That he is just this implement him in and boom, him and TBD gonna tear college football up. We're gonna beat people by 60. Okay. That high-powered offense, that way of thinking, that kind of seems a little flash in the panish to me. It seems like, oh, okay, Orange Bowl, playoff berth, and a national championship, lose the national championship, and then he's gone. 4 years, maybe, right? You go with the Mario Cristobal approach, it seems like it'll be 9-3 with an Orange Bowl appearance, 10-2 with ACC championship win. Year three, they probably go back down to 9-3, lost to QB transitioning. But guess what? They still go to the Orange Bowl. Maybe they win, finish out 10-3. Year four is completely a reset in players, a complete reset and kind of coaching and things of that nature, and bringing in as many 5 stars as he has. Miami wins the ACC, and Miami's in the championship game as far as winning the ACC and going to the playoffs, right? There seems to be that kind of notion between the two. Here's my whole thing about it. And my approach, with us being in the infancy stage of building a program, I would want us led by Mario Cristobal as opposed to a flash in the pan kind of approach. Just that simple, in my opinion.
I don't know what Lane Kiffin's thought process would be taking the Miami job, but I do think it's fair to project that it's much more likely that Mario Cristobal, considering where he's from, where he attended school, graduated, played his football, all the ties and connections that he and his family have to that community, that he would be invested and entrenched and passionate about making it work and making it a championship program versus Lane Kiffin. I'm not saying that that's not possible, that he would look at it as, okay, this is a final destination. I would love my family to be here, for us to be here long term and win multiple championships. But we don't know that. To this point, Lane Kiffin has viewed every job as a stepping stone to another job. Basically, get in there, turn it around, look good, show them a lot of offense, win some games, show that I can match up any defense, and then I'll get the next job. So you wouldn't know if Lane Kiffin would be thinking about, who knows, USC, Ohio State, Alabama, that kind of job next, or an NFL job.
The Bengals, the Dolphins, the Jack. Like you
Yeah.
just never know. And I'm not one of those people that likes to just keep throwing jabs at him, because there's so many people who are like, I can't stand Lane Kiffin. He's. I think the media has a view on him, and they just portray it, and he's viewed like. For me, Mark, I was always taught that Lane Kiffin was like nuclear, stay away. You know, the way that he was always portrayed in the media is just podunk, cocky idiot who's just going to do stupid stuff and leave your program. And I decided to do some research in it. And yes, he's hopped around, but it's always been for upgrades, except for when he, went and took the Alabama offensive coordinator job. And I think that was the best thing that could have happened to his career, to go to the Nick Saban coaching rehab center. Okay, of the best coaches. It's been working well for him. So I think he's well. I think, yes, he would blow people out and would probably win the Coastal and just be far out in the way. But I think that is a flash in the pan approach. If you want a slow cooker, Thanksgiving, you ain't throwing the turkey in the microwave. Okay, it's in the oven. It's going to take some hours, half a day in some instances, to make the right kind of roast and turkeys and things of that nature. So that's what I want for us. And like I said, that's just me. I'm not trying to portray that into other people and make you change your mind. I just think if you look at the two approaches, what works for Miami long term is Mario Cristobal.
Somebody mentioned in the chat, and I believe that they were responding to your Kirby Smart build-up and explaining how he had taken the Mark Richt level program and upgraded it year by year. And the comment was, we don't want to take that long. We can get Lane Kiffin and we can win immediately. Does no one out there, I can't imagine anybody listening to us right now would not take Kirby Smart like that and what's happening at Georgia.
Mark, there are people
waiting for 20 years.
Mark, there are people who would not. There are people who would openly. I said this last night. I said, would you take this flash in the pan approach, and year 2 he wins the natty, year 3 and then he's gone? Yes, give me that, as opposed to a sustainable 10-11 win program. Yes, give me a natty. I want a natty. That's the way people look at it, man. That's just how it is.
We're talking about Lane Kiffin, and he's a talented coach. We're not talking about Urban Meyer. We were talking about Urban Meyer. I could see we basically signed a coach who can almost guarantee we're going to win a natty. What has Lane Kiffin ever done? I know he's talented. He knows what he's doing. He's won games, but when you're running down Mario Cristobal's resume in a short time at Oregon, Lane Kiffin's not won those kind of games. He's never won a division championship, a conference championship. He's not done any of those things, let alone go to a playoff and win a national championship with the likes of Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State and those teams lined up against him. He hasn't proven anything close to that.
Mark, you are spitting the facts. I said that to myself. I was like, I'm not going to go there, but that's a good question. And like I said, this isn't a piss on Lane Kiffin show, but it's like, has he ever won a conference, Mark?
No.
So is this a factuation with him just because of his personality?
He runs an exciting offense. Mm-hmm. He has improved programs, but let's understand, he did not upgrade Tennessee, and he was gone after 1 year. He did not upgrade USC. He just was the next coach. Of course, he was coming off Pete Carroll, so nobody's upgrading that. Yes, he did a great job at FAU, and now at Ole Miss. In this Ole Miss thing, let's understand, it's not like he went to Ole Miss and lifted them out of the basement and went 10-2 3 or 4 years in a row. This is only the second season. He went 5-5 last year, and now he's 9-2 now. He's had a nice season, but it's not like he sustained it there. He hasn't even shown that he can sustain it there.
And that not the definition of flash in the pan? That's all I'm saying. And then you had someone say in here, Daryl Drakeford, you're speaking about Lang like you know he'll be leaving in 3 years. Not fair. When has he not shown that he would do that? Every destination he's been to, he's done that. I'm just asking.
Yeah. So the higher Lane Kiffin goes, the less likely he is to jump and the less likely as quick as he has in the past, because there are less bigger jobs available. But still, that is how he's conducted his career thus far. Go, turn it around, show a lot of offense, show that I can coach and I can scheme and match people up, and we're going to be better, and then get the next job. And he's all been about career advancement, which is fine for him. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what I would think a first-rate college football program would want out of its head coach.
And like I said, it's, oh my God, the same dude who complained earlier just said, give me Ed Reed at head coach.
Yeah. Well, that's
oh, come on, man.
that's not understanding what people do well. You know, take your favorite actor. That doesn't mean that they're going to be your favorite music artist. Like if you had them do that, or take your favorite and best linebacker. Are they going to be your best wide receiver? No, let's keep people in their lanes. Not
No
that he
pun
couldn't do
intended.
it at some point, not that he doesn't have the capabilities to learn and be that someday if he really dedicated himself to it, but he's not that right now.
Hey, it's just funny you say that, Mark, because I've always wondered, like, what's this infatuation? And then people always say, well, what if this and what about, okay, well, if anybody had the perfect scenario, they probably would be successful. So we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, we're getting close to the end here. So Miami has Duke coming up, and I think that game will more than likely be a stat game. Miami do well. I just think if Miami jumps out on them, then they'll be very successful. I don't know if, honestly, it's just the film I've watched on Duke, they're going to play hard. Of course, they're very well coached and things of that nature. That looks like a job that'll be opening up soon. I think Cutcliffe has kind of run his course at that school. So maybe a young up and coming coach gets their first head coaching gig at a Duke. And maybe Duke could be a little bit of a jump off spot. So we'll see when it comes to that. But as far as what's going to happen this upcoming Saturday, I think Charleston Rambo is going to break the record against Duke. I think TVD is going to continue his great record of 5 straight games with at least 300 yards passing and 2 touchdowns passing. He's been doing that. So he'll end up breaking that ACC record this upcoming week, which will make it 6. I think the defense is still going to give up anywhere from 250 to 300 yards. It's what they do. I believe Miami has been giving up about 30 points. I don't think Duke is going to score 30, but I could definitely see Duke scoring about 17 or 20, somewhere in there, 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals. So I'm going to have the University of Miami win out this game at 42 to 20 Miami, and that's just me. I think we're going to roll out and watch the championship games, and by that time, we're going to see a crap ton of things happen as far as the departure of Manny Diaz. We're going to have the athletic director, and Alonzo Highsmith should be hired by then. I know I said this stuff last week, but I think once the season is completely concluded, because once the regular season year is over, then that's the bowl game is different. You don't even see some of those coaches who are moving on. They don't even coach the bowl games because they want to already get things started and move in a different directions. So I think that's what's going to happen for Miami.
I just want to make it clear before we leave, when it comes to the subject of Lane Kiffin, I think he's an excellent football coach. I don't think he has proven to be yet one of the best in the business. He could prove that. I'm not saying that he's not on his way to proving that. He's not proven that yet. And I'm not a supporter of the Miami football team, and I don't have the investment that the Wholesome One or any of you have. I'm just giving you my fair assessment of what his career has been and what his approach has been to his career. That's all. If Miami hired Lane Kiffin, I think that would be a substantial upgrade. I just don't know if long term that would work out for you.
Thank you. That's it. I would be on here. I would be fired up and happy because it's a great upgrade over the crap that we've had to deal
absolutely.
with. He would be maybe the second best coach in school history to pick Miami. I mean, maybe you can't put him in front of Jimmy Johnson. You can't put him in front of the Godfather in Snellenberger. So I say he's second or third, but especially in recent times, in the last generation, he would be the best to take the job. So don't think that we're deliberately crapping on this person and Lane Kiffin. And if he were to take the job, I would be very excited. But in my unhumble opinion, based on what I would want for the University of Miami, as far as building an elite, sustainable program for a half decade to a decade, I don't believe Lane Kiffin to be that kind of coach. Just that simple.
Wholesome One, we always appreciate it, and I hope everybody out there does. I believe that you do, and if you do, check out the Wholesome One's channel if you haven't already, and of course, lock it in over there, and of course, bring some more Miami fans and other college football fans into our discussion each and every Tuesday at 1:15 Eastern. Wholesome One, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you have a great week. Enjoy the regular season finale. We'll come back here and hopefully Miami 7-5, and we'll talk about the offseason.
Absolutely, Mark. Again, I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And to all the Canes fans out there, I do truly appreciate you all for being here. We may not agree on everything. That doesn't mean you have to hate me, because I don't hate you. It's all good, man. I have a different mindset, and I'm very opinionated as far as how I feel, man. Again, God bless. As always, go Canes.
The Wholesome One, cover your ears. We're going to let everyone know that we're talking Florida State football live at 3 p.m. Eastern time on the Florida State channel. So join us for Florida State, and we've got a special guest on our Florida State live show at 3 Eastern. David Waters from Gators Breakdown. Of course, it's Florida State, Florida week. And also at 5:30 Eastern on the main channel and the Iowa channel, we have Hawkeyes Live. And we've got a big watch party tonight during the playoff unveiling. The College Football Committee reveals its rankings again this week, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. So we will have a watch party, and I will take your calls after the rankings are revealed right here at the Voice of College Football. Please lock it into your favorite channel, this one being Miami, of course, but we've got 25 team channels, including our main channel at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate all of you. We will see you soon.